Hello everyone, this is Sayan and welcome to my biology class. Today we will discuss about menstrual cycle. It is an important physiological process in the female humans at their reproductive ages. So if you want to know about the details of this cycle, different changes that takes place in the female's body during this cycle and the hormonal regulation of this cycle, then you must watch this video till the end. So let's begin. Let's begin with its definition. The reproductive cycle in females is called menstrual cycle. It is the regular change that occurs within the female reproductive system, especially within ovaries and uterus, that makes pregnancy possible. So menstrual cycle is generally present in female. It is found to present in all female member of primates. That is, it is present in monkeys, apes, including human. And normal span of this menstrual cycle in human is 28 days. It is an average data. It may vary from individual to individual. The beginning of menstrual cycle, the onset of menstrual cycle, especially at the age of 10 to 12 years of age in girl, is known as menarche. And the stoppage of the menstrual cycle, especially at the age of 45 to 50 years in girls, is known as menopause. So these are two technical terms associated with menstrual cycle. Now let's know about the composition, the details of the menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle is actually made up of two different cycles which coincide with each other: ovarian cycle and uterine cycle. By the term cycle, we actually mean some sequential changes that takes place in ovary and uterus respectively. Now let us know different phases of the ovarian cycle at first. The phases of ovarian cycle are: number 1, follicular phase; number 2, ovulatory phase; and number 3, luteal phase. We will know about the details of these phases in the latter. Next, now we know about the different sequential phases of uterine cycle, the changes that takes place in uterus. Number 1, menstrual phase. Next, the next phase is proliferative phase. And last phase is secretory phase. So these are different phases of ovarian cycle and uterine cycle respectively, both of which are part of menstrual cycle. Now we will try to understand detail of ovarian cycle and uterine cycle with the help of this graphical representation. Here in the first diagram we are actually visualizing the development of ovum during the first phase of ovarian cycle, which is known as follicular phase, and at or near about the 14th day of the ovarian cycle an ovum is released from the ovary. The process is known as ovulation and the period is known as ovulatory phase of ovarian cycle. And later on the remnant of the Graafian follicle which remains in the ovary turned into corpus luteum and start to secrete progesterone for next 7 to 10 days continuously, and this phase is known as luteal phase. Later on, after 10th day, the corpus luteum will get degenerate from corpus albicans and later on it get degenerate completely within the ovary. Now let us know some hormonal regulation that regulate ovarian cycle. These are two hormones, FSH and LH, both are pituitary hormones, control the ovarian cycle. FSH actually help in the development of Graafian follicle in the ovary. So its amount in blood must be high before the ovulation takes place. So here with the help of this graphical representation we can easily visualize the level of FSH is quite high just before the 14th day, and later on after ovulation its amount in blood will get decreased. On the other hand, we can easily understand the level of LH with the help of this red line in the blood. LH actually help in the process of ovulation, releasing of ovum from the ovary, and its amount will increase just before ovulation. This sudden increase in LH concentration in the female blood is known as LH surge. So, suppose if ovulation takes place at 14th day, the sudden increase in LH concentration in blood will take place at around 12th or 13th day of the ovulation or ovarian cycle. So, this is an representation, an easy graphical representation of ovarian cycle. Now, let us try to understand what happens to the uterus with the help of this another graphical representation which indicate the uterine cycle. As we all know that the first day of menstrual cycle or uterine cycle is indicated by the presence of blood, the outcoming of blood for the first time, and it continues for next 3 to 5 days. So, this period, this phase of the uterine cycle is indicated as menstrual phase, when the blood will continuously shed out of the female body. Later, in the next phase of uterine cycle known as proliferative phase, the uterine bed will get healed, get repair of that damages that takes place during menstrual phase, and try to prepare itself for the next period of development. And in the secretory phase, the third phase of uterine cycle, the uterine bed swell enough so that it can implant another incoming embryo in the next cycle. So, by the help of this graphical representation, we are actually trying to indicate the change in thickness of uterine wall that continue along the entire span of uterine cycle. The span of uterine cycle is also at an average of 28th day. Now, let us know about different hormones that control the uterine cycle. These are two ovarian hormones, estrogen and progesterone, that control the uterine cycle. Estrogen actually help to thickening in the endometrial lining of the uterus, and its concentration in blood generally increase just prior to ovulation. Later on, its concentration in blood will gradually decrease. Another hormone, progesterone, it is also gets secreted from the ovary. It's secreted from the corpus luteum of the ovary. It actually secrete at higher concentration just after ovulation, because progesterone actually help in the implantation of ovary. That's why it is also known as pregnancy hormone. So, the increase of progesterone in blood continue for next 7 to 10 days after ovulation, and later on, if the pregnancy failed, if the ovum not get fertilized by any sperm, the amount of progesterone get decreased, which lead to the menstrual bleeding later on. So, this is how both the ovarian cycle and uterine cycle is regulated by different hormones. So, from previous to explanation of ovarian cycle and uterine cycle, now we can easily deduct out all different phases of menstrual cycle. Here, with the help of this very easy graphical representation, we will try to know about the entire span of the menstrual cycle. We all know that the appearance of first blood is indicated as the first day of menstrual cycle. Here, the first day is indicated here in the graphical representation, and the first phase of menstrual cycle generally continue up to 5th day. This phase is known as menstrual phase. Thereafter, from 6th day to 13th day, when the follicle develop in the ovary which get converted into Graafian follicle, the second phase is known as follicular phase. Thereafter, at the third phase of menstrual cycle, near about the 14th day of the period, when the ovulation takes place, that particular section or phase is known as ovulatory phase. And later on, when the corpus luteum secrete progesterone continuously, that phase of the menstrual cycle is known as luteal phase. So, here the first phase generally stay up to 5th day of the menstrual cycle. The second phase continue from 6th day to 13th day of the menstrual cycle. Ovulatory phase, the day when the exact ovulation takes place, generally indicated as the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. And luteal phase, which continue from 15th day to 28th day of an average menstrual cycle. So, all the data given here are an average data. It may vary from individual to individual. So, I hope you got clear idea on menstrual cycle. Still, if you have any questions or queries, ask me in the comment box. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.